and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young on this third day of August. We are moving through August. I just did my, this is my first show of August, for crying out loud, of 2022. I just did my last show in July last week. I have another Zoom show tonight. A guy that's a podcast, or he's a musician down here in the lovely state of Connecticut. We're going to talk to him. We're going to hear him play a couple of his original tunes. But before we get to them, I want to read these great underwriters, and then we will commence per usual. So we got a new one, Rodney's Kitchen in Halifax. We got Auto Nation in Halifax. They're an old one, but they're back. We got Countertops Express in North Attleboro, installing and removing quartz and granite. We got Main Ingredient in Middleborough, Just Good Food. We got Hairway to Heaven in Norwell. We got Pembroke Radiator in Pembroke. We got Pacini's Pizza in Middleborough. They deliver. We got Crazy Axes Rec Center in Hanover. We got Genuine's Inspection in Middleborough. We got Pal's Driving School in Middleborough, teaching people to drive in Middleborough and vicinity, taking new students for the rest of August. We got Salon Giovanni in Marshfield. We got Madigan Land Surveying in Middleborough. We got New England Floorscapes in Middleborough. We got Maggie's Cuts in Kingston. We got DNS Auto Works in Abington on Route 58 right here. We got the Gunrunner LLC in Middleborough, dedicated to your Second Amendment rights. And we got Ocean Street Auto Repair in Marshfield. I want to thank you guys very much. I want to make a quick reference to the Middleborough. Speaking of Middleborough, so many towns of team underwriters in the town of Middleborough, great next door town to here in Carver, Mass. They the Little League World Series state champions of that town have advanced, and we're pretty excited about that. So hats off to them. Keep going. We'll keep plugging you until you either win the World Series or get gracefully defeated. But don't worry about it. You guys are awesome. But now we're going to concentrate on my guest, Jeb, here. Jeb, thank you for doing my show. I know you wanted to do it for a while, and going to be a great guest. You got a podcast, you're a musician, and you've just got a great write-up in the Hartford Current. And I always wondered about that, because currents to me were always figs until I realized that they're not just raisins, they're also periodicals in this case, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
All right, well, Jeb, we're going to talk about that in a little while, but what I want to do is like what I do with every guest, and whether you're in person or Zoom, is I want to profile you. So let's talk about you growing up. And I know you just turned 23. Happy birthday. I saw that on Facebook a couple of days ago. Young guy, obviously. You just barely born in the last century, just because it was ending. Did pretty good with math. So tell me about how you ended up getting this podcast started and your music and all that as a kid. Tell me where you grew up and how it started. And if I have any questions, I'll fire them in. Go ahead.
Sure. All right. So when I was 17, started playing guitar. I mean, even earlier, my dad was trying to teach me, and I just couldn't get a hand of it. So I just kind of kept going. I got the bug for songwriting, so I had to have the guitar to write. I knew it. They went together for me, and I just kept writing from there. I've worked with Terry Draper of Klaatu, who was the band that was kind of rumored to be the Beatles, which ties into a lot of the Beatle Fest thing. But I became good friends with them. I was friends with the Posies. I was friends with all these bands growing up just by meeting them on Facebook. And that's what really started the podcast, was because I was meeting all these guys and I wanted to get their story. I wanted to get what made them musicians, wanted to learn from that. Then I started my own record label, which is RoboJack Records. Just started this year. So everything's on top of like an enterprise building. So all the radio shows are on there. Everything is on the website at robojackrecords.com. And then Charles came up to me and said, "I know you like Badfinger." And I said, "I do." And we started doing the Badfinger Boogie. He came up with the name just because he was like, "I got a name for you." And we were going through a couple. I know Blind Owl would be popular, but I feel like somebody already had it. And I was like, "Oh," but that sounded great as it relates to the Beatles, which I love the Beatles so much.
Okay. Now Badfinger, that's a band that goes back 50 plus years. You know that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I heard
way before my time.
Well, yeah, but not before mine. I was a big fan. I've been a fan of top 40 music for 58 years, going back to 1964 when I was 5. But in 1970, 52 years ago, exactly 52 years ago, I'm going to tell you a little Badfinger story. I think you'll enjoy it. So at that time, I was down at a camp on the Cape Cod called Kirkland, and I was not having a very good time. The kids were treating me like crap, most of them, and I didn't fit in very well. I was not very athletic. I'm certainly wasn't in the best shape of my life. I'm in pretty good shape now. I changed my lifestyle. But the one thing that I did love about 1970 was the music that came out on the radio. But one of our counselors in our bunk, his name was Jerry Katz. He was a Wellesley guy, which is an upscale town west of Boston. He must have loved Badfinger too, because back in those days in the 20th century, everything was on, a phonograph. We had a 45s, 33s, 16s, and 78s,
Mhm.
mostly 33s and 45s. Well, he had the 45 day, not day after day came along in 1972. Yeah, come and get it. You know the song, if you
Oh
want
yeah.
it. Yeah, right. Great tune. He would play it, I swear, like 20 times a day. And I mean, I didn't get tired of it. It was awesome. You know, and he just popped it on that phonograph, you know, one time after another. Nobody complained. You
Now
know,
you're
and it's
just
good
popping it
stuff.
on and on and on.
That's what made me a Badfinger fan. So I thought you might get a
There you go.
chuckle out of that
I
story.
love that. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me, I became a fan because my dad was big into them, and I bought all the records myself on vinyl. I have like a really big record collection here on off screen because I can't turn the camera, but
That's
I have a
okay.
lot of records, and Badfinger is definitely in that collection. I got all of them, and then I actually later on met Joey Molland myself. We went to the Richfield Playhouse, and I actually met Joey, and I met
I
Todd
gotta
Rundgren
go.
and
Joey
Rick.
Mullins, is he a member of the band
Yeah,
or
he's one of the OG members of Badfinger.
wow.
So
Okay,
he's
I know
one
two of
of
them kept their own lives. That was awful. So
yeah.
right. How he must be pretty old now though. How old is he?
He's got to be up there. His birthday, I
Like
think he's, I
70s
think
or
he's
80s?
he might be 80s because I think he's around the same age as Paul
Yeah,
McCartney.
yeah, yeah.
I think he's
Wow.
around there. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah.
He's good
He's
that
a
he's
British guy,
carrying
right?
the
Carlisle.
music. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because what a tragic history of the band. I mean,
I
nuts.
know.
So I'm glad to see he's still carrying the music. And Todd Rundgren was there too, which was a really
Wow.
cool
So where did
experience.
you meet these guys? Where did you meet them?
The Richfield Playhouse in Richfield. I did an interview with Joey Molland on my podcast, which is
Wow.
Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio, and it just
Cool.
went spiraling from there. I got to meet him, and then I said I always wanted to do a tribute band for Badfinger since I never really liked covers. I was always an originals guy, and then I started getting hit with like you get that bug where you're like, if I could cover one band, a lot of people pick a band that's not as known but still has some to them, And I was like, I got to do Badfinger. I got to get them out there, keep going with that. And so it was cool that the Fab Four Fest, I went last year, and it was cool that they had a Monkees band, Zilch, which I thought was
Right. Wow.
awesome. It
Okay.
brought me to be like, Charles, I want to do Badfinger. So it was perfect.
Oh, well, I think when I think of Badfinger, I think of like the second coming of the British music invasion, like because obviously the bands in the 60s, that preceded Badfinger by many years, the Stones, the Who, the Beatles, obviously, and some of the other ones. Badfinger came along right, I believe they formed, I don't know what year, I'm guessing 1969, the end of the 60s.
I believe so. I'm trying to think. It's like either the end of the 60s or right at the beginning of the 70s, because I know
I know that's
Magic
exactly
Christian Music album was Ringo's movie there, where he was the star in it, and they always had Badfinger playing. And then the Ivies were way before that. They were a little
right.
bit
The
before
Ivies,
that.
I remember them. Yep.
So you had that too. Yeah.
Okay. So, I guess, when you really like a band like that, you want to know the history of all of them. And the fact that you got to meet one of the main survivors of the band is incredible. And you interviewed him on your podcast. Now, Rich Dale, I guess that's a clubman somewhere in Connecticut.
Sounds familiar. The Richfield Playhouse.
That's where you met him. What's Rich Dale?
The Richfield Playhouse. Yeah.
Oh, the Richfield Playhouse. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was
No worries.
No, but that's in Connecticut, right?
Yeah. Yep. Richfield, Connecticut.
Oh, it's in Richfield, Connecticut. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Now, when did you get to talk to these? When did you get to interview them? How long ago?
It was like 4 months ago, I think, 4 to 5 months ago. I want to
So it was this
It's
year.
been a little bit of steady growth from there. I've had guests like Andy Powell of Wishbone Ash, which is a native in Connecticut too now.
Yeah.
He lives here, and I love Wishbone Ash, one of my favorite bands. And I like to cover all those kind of things from getting the history of the stories. I cover new artists too. If they just got a story to tell, that's all I want to know. I don't want to pull teeth on an interview. So I'm like, if you have a story, I'll put you on.
Okay, now you just got to write up in the Hartford Current, and I was joking a little bit that the Current is like a raisin, but it's also the newspaper. So tell me about it. Tell me about what the write up was about? You just found it like yesterday, right? And you didn't.
Yeah,
you didn't see it come. You didn't know about it until you saw it, right?
The overnight success of many years being worked up. But
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
and not just before you did my show. How awesome is that?
I know. I was like,
Worked
whoa.
out. Yeah.
It's perfect timing. It was like I'm getting to the next level. But I was so excited that Christopher Arnett reached out and said, look, I love to interview you. Charles helped us set it up. We got it all set up. And then he called me on the phone. We just talked Badfinger for like an hour. And I found out he knew a lot of the people I knew musically. Like I know Dean Falcone for a very long time. So he knew him. Dean was in a band called The Excerpts with John Bryan and Jim Belga. And they were a power pop group that actually Charles managed and took to Japan. So it was like such a small world that we all knew each other. And so it just, kept growing from there. But being in the paper is something I never expected to, in the day of digital age, we all get articles written up on the computer and all this kind of stuff. And this is on the computer. You can find it at the Current's website. but I'm actually going to be physically getting a copy pretty soon of actually being in the paper, which one of the biggest papers in Connecticut too, which is
I
very
know
cool.
it is. You have one
Yeah.
Hartford after all. I think it's the capital,
Yeah.
right? Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
It
you'll
is
you'll
it
tape it
would
up
be
in
the
that
capital,
colorful
so
wall of yours too, when you have it up.
Mhm.
You'll tape right behind you. You'll tape it up and
Yeah.
tape the article up in that colorful wall and you'll frame it in plastic and
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm gonna have it up.
so tell me about how did you start your podcast? How did you get it going?
So with me, I think what happened
You
was
said
is
something about
I
you
always
met people on
wanted
Facebook, but go ahead. You be more
yeah.
elaborate.
So I've
Okay.
always wanted to be a radio host. I always
Right.
wanted to do something with radio, but then I've always wanted to be a musician. So I was like, the tug of war of which one do I want to do more? And then I found out later on when I started building the record label, I could do everything I ever wanted, just put it under one name. So you could, you're multi-talented. So then I started branding myself as Vinyl Man Jeb instead of just Jeb. And it was this radio host, podcast, everything. But the podcast really to me was something to actually, I have a lot of phone anxiety. When I call people, I get nervous on the phone. So I did this. The best way to get over getting nervous on the phone is to call famous people where if you're giddy, you're going to be giddy anyway. So, all these people were calling in and we started doing our podcasts and getting going. And, it's just so much, it's been more than I could handle at first because it was just so much at once. And then Mad Wasp Radio picked us up in England. So I
Wow.
am in Connecticut. I record the show at home and it goes to where I want to go. It goes over to the Beatles land of England,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it gets sent over, it gets aired every Tuesday from 1 to 3 p.m. It's a 2-hour show. So much fun.
I couldn't do a 2-hour show. I'd be exhausted, but that's awesome.
Oh, I love it. I crave on it, but yeah.
It's amazing that I always say, people, the more multifaceted you are, the more opportunities you're going to have, and you obviously are as multifaceted as you can get. Now,
I know some days my brain doesn't shut off.
how many people do you have under your record label now?
So we have 6 bands.
Okay.
We have five bands because I'm counting myself twice there, but we have 5 bands.
Okay. Tell me about every one of them that you can think of. Okay.
So I'll say this is my test knowledge. They'll be watching. So I got Desolation Sound. They're from Friday Harbor off the coast of Seattle. Like, it was really cool signing them. They worked with John Hour of the Posies and many of names like Adam Casper, who has produced a lot of records out there.
Okay.
We have Jeff, which is me. We have my band, The Sane Riot, which we're going to be doing some reissue material pretty soon. We have Owen Radford, who is also the co-owner of the label. So we put his music on there as well. We write together. We're in a band called Jeb and the Riots. So we write together as well. And speaking of being in the area, in Connecticut on August 20th, we're going to have, so you have the Badfinger Boogie Fest this weekend. And then I have another show on the 20th, which will be my record label actually all flying in from different parts of the United States coming down. And we're all going to have a bash at the Cellar on Treadwell with 5 bands as well. One of bands that are local here, we're giving a couple spots to another record label so we could team up together. So it's a lot of fun. So shout out to TLR Records on that. And just from there we have Jim Terrell from New Hampshire. He is a really cool dude. He was our first ever signed one, and his fans just brought us so much hope. I mean, we went in profit in the first month just because of him alone, because his fans are very loyal. And so it was a lot of fun. I got to play on stage with him too because of the label. So it became just a journey for us.
That's awesome. Well, just to let you know, I'm going to listen to this. We're halfway through the show. Do me a favor, pick up your guitar if you want, and play a couple of songs, name them, and let's talk about them afterwards. So I'm going to relax and let Jeb do some strumming and singing. Go ahead.
Awesome.
You name a title if you want.
Yeah, I've just got to find my, here we go. So this one is I Need a Break. I did this one with Rich Dart of the Monkees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he drummed on it. So I'll play it for you guys.
Sweet.
Well, I need a break out of here. Well, I need a break with no fear. Well, I need to break out of here. Well, I need to be with you, my dear. It's true. Harboring feelings for you. Well, I need a way to a clearer path. Well, I need a way just to last. Well, I need a way out of here. Well, I need to be with you, my dear. It's true. Harboring feelings for you. She comes quietly to the door. waiting for approval, holding hands with fear. Coming one, my dear, I need a break. Sun around and where we started from, we're going on a place back home and taking on another round of this. So don't come on back home and find another round to get me out of there. Yeah. Well, I need a break out of here.
Oh, that was awesome. Pretty self-explanatory too.
Thank you.
So you played that
it's
with
very Monkees inspired.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Have you ever, all right, you know, do another song and then we'll talk some more.
Sure.
Is that okay? Go ahead. Do one more. Name
See
the
if I can
title.
find my,
Capo.
Mike. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I'll do one of my ones that it's in my tour bag. It's in the other room.
All right,
So
well, you know what? Yeah.
I can do another one for you. I got other ones that aren't
All right.
on Capo.
What's it called?
This one's called Winter.
Got it.
But I have multi-styles. This one's more alternative pop, so I'll try this one here.
Alternative rocks.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You say to me, don't worry about the You say to me, don't worry about the sounds you're in, and even touching on no, 'cause in the winter it's cold and my brain is getting thicker. I'm starting to fight all the feelings inside. You say to me, don't worry about the sounds that we're in, and we're taking it all back home. I can't wait till we find alone in the sounds that we are, and we're waiting for some kind of start. 'Cause in the winter it's cold and my brain is getting thicker than it should. There's an alternate version of it because with the capo it's much higher. It's like up on the 5th fret. So
I know. I know music. I played the piano for 7 years as a kid.
Oh,
It was. Well, you kind of reminded me with that song of Matchbox 20 from 1997. You know, Rob Thomas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs is 3 a.m. So perfect.
There you go. Yeah, you sounded just like him there. Wow.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
So tell me what kind of education did you get? You go to college at all? And if so, where?
I went to college for radio hosting, and then I kind of dropped out. It just wasn't my thing. I wasn't really fitting in where I could go with it and everything. And then all of a sudden, as soon as I dropped, a lot of things were picking up right away with my music. So I got lucky that my parents let me stay home, and I'm still home, but they let me do everything from my room. So I got really lucky that I didn't have to force go to college, and I'm definitely going to go back for like marketing, because that's where my head's lately been trying to like market podcasts, market shows, and help people out where they can't, they got a good show going, but the reach needs to, bigger, or I could like help with advertising and stuff. That's where my head has been thinking about lately, but where that is.
Well, being on my show is going to help your cause immensely.
I hope so. I'm excited.
Well, we're covering a lot of stuff. When you go to college again, where are you going to go? Do you have any plan? Do you know yet? Do you know what yet? Where you going?
I mean, I like the community colleges here. They're pretty cool because, I mean, you still bang for your buck and you get just the same education. I would totally probably go over to Gateway. I kind of think I've been looking at that one, or Middlesex, because they have a lot of the radio on Middlesex is insanely good. I heard like they have very good setup classes for that. So either that, or I'll just go for the the marketing, like just a degree, certificate, just to like learn from that. Because I've done everything on my own, but it's nice to get an education that they show you exactly what to do.
Exactly. Okay. Plus, you get some hands-on training as well. Obviously, same thing. Okay. So you say you do your podcast what, 5 days a week, 1 to 3 in the afternoon?
So the radio show is weekly, 1 to 3, on Tuesdays.
Okay.
My podcast is, whenever I do them all pre-recorded, my podcast, so it's whenever we get time to air. We just got
Yeah.
upgraded to actually having to hire an editor because I
Wow.
can't do the work anymore. We got so many people coming in. We fell behind our upcoming guests. We have Dean Falcone coming on. We have Brian Woodbury just got released. He's a really cool producer for music from California. He did Bear in the Big Blue House, the Jim Henson show. He did the music for that.
Oh, the Muppets guy.
We had him on. And then we also had Thomas Ian Nichols of American Pie, so 90s actor on there. So it was a lot of, we're getting bigger names and we're growing just with it and really enjoying every moment and living within these moments to be like, wow, I'm young and still being able to interview all these people at a young age. So it's awesome.
True. Yeah, I wasn't doing any of that at 23.
Wow.
When exactly did you start the podcast? How many years ago?
Oh, man, so this podcast, Unlikely Places, just started last year. So it was just last year. I had a podcast previous to that ran about 2 years called Jeb and Greencast with an old friend of mine. And we did interviews there and we just kept getting big on there. And then we kind of went our separate ways, creative differences. I would say.
I know. I've been there too.
And the usual. And we moved on and I said, you know what? I'm going to take the show on my own because I've been really enjoying doing it. And I really love having guest co-hosts instead of just having a staple co-host every time. Much prefer to do it on my own or have a guest co-host that would love to come on and just be as excited as I am about the show.
I agree. I wouldn't mind having a permanent female guest co-host. Well, I mean, listen, I ratings, man, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Now, your podcast, though, are they visual or are they just online?
Both. Just audio, but we put them up on like Spotify, all those. Yeah, we do just the audio. We're working on there's a new podcast that we just came out with. It's me and my co-owner of the record label talking about like old cartoons and just having fun being ourselves. It's called Don't Jet and Drive. And the catch with that one is it's a very ADHD, ADD inspired podcast because we have sound effects coming from all over. It's really nice, stimulating, different kind of thing. My editor is very good at doing that.
Cool.
So we're doing with that one. We're rolling with that one really soon. Episode 2 will be out probably within a couple weeks. We're just working on getting it up on our website so we have traffic going somewhere to the site too. So
if you never need an OCD or an autism connection, that's me. I get them both.
All right.
And I'm proud of it too, because it makes, the fact that I'm doing this kind of show for me is with all these things that for years held me back is now, advancing me to the pinnacles of success beyond which I never would have believed.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I suffer from ADHD very hardly. Every day I'm always working. I have to do 200 things just to get one thing done. I found relief in knowing that it's okay. Like it's great that it's what makes me who I am. I can't change that. So
but why would you want to change it? It's perfect.
No, I do. I love what I do. So yeah, exactly.
No, you're a Husky dude. Did you ever play sports in school or anything? You look athletic.
I played soccer in like 7th grade, I think.
Okay.
Like soccer. That's a deep cut for Jeb fans. I played soccer way back. I did karate for a little bit too. My parents always wanted to kind of throw me around. I never did football, but every time I showed up at high school, those scouts were asking, and I was like, yeah, I'm more of a music guy. I know I'm a big guy, but I like playing the guitar, and I like having my hands and my brain not mangled. But I love sports. I love watching baseball.
But I'm glad I mentioned the Little League World Series then.
Yeah, so I was excited. I was smiling ear to ear. That's going to be exciting to see. Hopefully.
It'd be nice. It's always nice when the American team wins it, and it's even nice when a New England team wins it.
And it's close to home. You could be like, hey, that's my team. It's always good to have a team to just be rooting for. So
absolutely. Well, the Red Sox up here aren't doing so good now. Are you closer to New York than you are to Boston? You probably
So we're on the New York side. I'm usually Yankees or Mets. I know not to mention the Yankees territory there, but I'm usually Yankees or Mets guy. I just like watching the game. Ever since I went to the Baseball Hall of Fame, I was.
I did too. 1973, 49 years ago. Wow.
Oh wow. That's awesome. Yeah, I love Cooperstown. It's great. And I became just a fan of the game itself and how it brings victories to people. And it's just like music when you're with a band and you start going in the height of your success and you start gigging and touring. You feel like you finally made something. Well, baseball is that for a lot of people too. And I thought, well, I don't watch many sports, but I really enjoy that idea. So I started watching baseball, and I've been very happy that now I can finally get the Yankees on some network, because I guess Apple TV is allowing it now for free with the Apple TV subscription. Because the Yankees always had their own system to watch, and it was like, I'm going to become a Mets fan because I'm tired of like having to pay extra for something that everybody else I can watch right on here. So
absolutely.
But
you might be impressed to know that I created my own baseball game that I've been playing in my living room for 17 years.
Really?
Yeah, it's part of my exercise ritual every day. Sometimes I post pictures of my living room, which is actually the field of dreams that I play on, and I
Oh,
have
cool.
the furniture in there. Keep looking at my Facebook post. You'll see them.
I'll look for it. All right, cool.
Yeah, look
I
for it.
will.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool game. I had my cats. I bought the toy balls for the cats, and then I had an old ice
Oh,
scraper
cool.
with an edge broken off that I used as a bat, and I made some really cool rules for it. And
That's
now I've been
awesome.
doing it 17 years. My cats are
That's
gone
awesome.
now. They're passed. But well, guess what? We're
Oh,
down to the
very
final
good.
5 minutes of the show. Thanks. And I hope we
problem.
covered as much of you as we could.
There's much to cover about me. That's always changing. This is perfect though. This is great summary of what I do. And the
Okay.
biggest thing is robojackrecords.com is everything me. And come out to the Fab Four Fest. It's Saturday. It's gonna be awesome.
August 20th.
The Fab Four Fest is August 6th. My thing
Okay.
in the cellar on Treadwell for the RoboJack Records is August 20th.
20th. Okay, that's fine. We're just getting those things. All right. Well, now that within the final 5 minutes, what I want you to do is look at you. You have obviously named a lot of people. Give quick shouts out to them, and then we'll wrap the show up with my music
Sure.
the way we began it. So
All
just
right.
real quick, and then go ahead. We'll condense them.
All right, cool. So I shout out to my parents who deal with all my crazy stuff every day. Shout out to my
Shout
friends.
out to mine,
that
but
are
they
out
don't even
there.
watch the show.
Shout out to Dean Falcone. And shout out to Charles Rosnay with 3 exclamation points. I love that
Yeah,
guy.
I interviewed him. You know that.
Oh yeah, I saw the interview. That's the one I watched. It was very
Sweet.
fun. Very
It was. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay.
And shout out to everybody that's gotten me so far. I mean, RoboJack Records, the whole team. I know. I feel like I'm winning a Grammy here. I'm like, here's my announced speech. I can't remember any of the names. Got to pull the sheet of paper out. But
That's
Thank you
awesome. All
very
right.
much for having me.
Thank
I'm
you.
very
And
excited to be.
if there's anybody that you can think of that wants to do my show, you got my digits. Have them
Sure.
text me. Call me,
Yeah,
do
we'll
a bit
pass
of
it
a-
along.
in person and by Zoom. All right. Before we wrap the show up, besides those events that you just mentioned, is there anything you want to mention that's coming up on the horizon that you might have overlooked? If not, we'll just wrap the show up. And then I'm gonna
I
ask.
got a brand new
Go ahead.
I got a brand new album coming out. It's gonna be up. It's in one of those development hell kind of things. So it's gonna be a
Okay.
little while. But we got very big names on it, like Roger Joseph Benning Jr. of Jellyfish and Beck. We have Terry Draper of Klaatu. They're all doing like voice acting. We have them not just doing music but voice acting. So it's gonna be like a whole concept rock album, and it's called Spaceship Truth, the
Sweet.
unofficial. The official soundtrack to an unofficial movie. One of those long titles. I can't remember the own title I wrote.
That's okay. You'll remember it when you have to.
That's in the works.
All right, Jeb, listen, I'm going to ask you one favor. After we start the show, we
Sure.
hang around and do pictures for Facebook. My tech guy, Chris, will
Yeah,
take.
yeah.
All right. So
Sure.
you ready to wrap the show up the way we began it?
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, folks. Thanks for watching another episode of Toppy Time. See you next time. Take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.